Ladies and gentlemen, I am the next gem of great British wrestling ring announcing, Adam Blackburn, and you are listening to the new Great British podcast, Submit Wrestling Cards, with your hosts, Jack and Kev.
Welcome to another episode. What is this? Episode 5 now? Are we on? Is it 5?
No, 5 or 6, is it? I think it's number 6. British Bulldog, Jack.
Yeah, British Bulldog.
Very
won
special
the poll.
one.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I tell you what, it's been that long. I can't remember who was in the poll. Oh no, we did a beast of a poll, didn't we? We had British Bulldog, Mr. Perfect, and Razor.
Was it? Yeah, Razor Ramon, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it? Well, yeah. You know what? It has been a while since we last recorded, and it's like, wow, back to it. It feels all fresh again. It's all new.
Yeah, it's been basically the clash of calendars rather than Clash at the Castle, which is coming up. We've had Clash of the Calendars. It's been a bit difficult for us to get something in. So you might notice if you're watching rather than listening, or in fact if you're listening as well, a couple of changes technologically wise. I'm in a different location. Maybe for the next few episodes, we'll see. I've got a slightly different setup. Kev, you've got a new camera.
New camera.
Yeah.
Brand new off Amazon.
Oh, that's
We're going up in the world, you know.
That's it. You know, there's no stopping us now. All the money that we're making from these episodes, we're able to spend.
We haven't made any money, Jack.
Don't let them go beyond the curtain. You know, we've made millions already.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. Still real to me, God damn it.
But yes, we put a beast of a poll up. Bulldog won, so we're going to go through some Bulldog bits today. So we've got we've got a little bit of news, not too much. It's been a bit quiet, but we've got a little bit of news, and then we've got history with Kev. I'm sure that's going to be very interesting. And then we're going to go through some cards and have a good old chat and see what's going on in the world of British Bulldog cards. So
Chinwag.
Chinwag,
that's what we're at.
Yeah, put the kettle on. You know, we'll sit down. We'll have a good old run through it.
Kick the kids out. Let the missus go shopping. Get this on YouTube. Give it a blast. Listen to these two legends going at it and talk about wrestling cards, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. What else are you going to do with your time? You know, whether you're listening to this in the car or you're sat in your front room on the phone. I don't know what you do with your lives, but thank you for listening. If you are listening, by the way,
maybe you sat on a nude beach listening to us, or
could be.
Could
be. Yeah. I mean,
sat in a random pub.
The possibilities as to where people could be whilst listening to us talk nonsense, it's quite high. Quite high.
On the moon, you name it.
Ooh, yeah, well, yeah, it could be.
You just never know, do we? So it's all good fun.
So
what we got, Jack?
Yeah, let's crack into a little bit of news then. So I think there's a couple of points that we're going to go through quite quickly. I'll let you discuss the first point of some new releases that are coming out in the worlds of wrestling cards. So give us a little bit of information on that.
Panini Prism by WWE. That's the only thing I've managed to track down recently, Jack. I've not purchased anything, but I've seen that they're floating about on eBay. Notice there is a British Bulldog one with that lot, I believe, or thereabouts. And they always throw the old school gems in, don't they? And plenty of new guys too. So
yeah,
that one, I'll get some eventually, but I'm not going to be going mad for them. I'll be honest with you.
I think there's still a little bit of fatigue from, let's say, the first few Panini releases with collectors. And there's a bit of a sour taste in the mouth of some people with how Prism have really ramped up the cost versus quality ratio. I think that's that's a big thing for people that people aren't really I don't know, I don't think they're particularly fond of that at the moment. But the cards look nice. You know, Panini do a good job. They do make nice cards, of course. But yeah, maybe we'll start seeing the tables turn a little bit. Maybe people might be a bit more fond of what this set comes out as. I've seen a few box breaks. Nice cards, nice selection. I think it would be. I don't think it would be wise at this stage to say how good the set's going to be, because I've literally only seen a handful of chase cards. So it looks interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's different. Another piece of news I've noticed is that in the UK, there's now a new WWE sticker album.
I heard about this. I've not actually seen it. I've not looked at it. I don't know any details. So anything you've got to tell me here is news to me. But I've heard about it floating about.
Yeah. The mad thing is, I was going to work on Saturday morning, popped into Wwe Smith, got this brand new WWE sticker album. Obviously, it's all modern and what the WWE do best. And I was like, I can't really pick it up because I'm going to work. It would look a bit dodgy, me just sticking loads of stickers in, sat there in work. So
carefully with your tongue out, putting the sticker in the box, making sure someone comes up to you and helps. Shut up! I'm trying to put number 12 in.
Shut up, Sandra. Not now.
I'll just sort it out. But it's on fire, Kev. I don't care.
Yeah. God, don't you realise it's the Undertaker?
Yeah. Do you know who this is? Waving the sticker in front of her.
Yeah.
One of the other things as well, very quickly, this has been covered to death, so I don't think we need to go too much into it. Triple H's new role at WWE. Lots of people very happy. Lots of people saying already very good things. I think it's good. And Shawn Michaels now being brought into a different role as well. So I think he's going in as head of talent something. I can't remember. I saw it flash up the other day. Popular move. You can't take away these guys' legacy, so they know what they're doing.
Another one is Road Dogg, I believe. Was he going back in? So
yeah, so he
was legends.
He was doing a lot of work beforehand, wasn't he? So within the WWE, and I think again he's sort of been moved up a rung on the ladder. But yeah, these are big names being put into big positions, and I remember hearing a quote from the the greatest supporter of modern wrestling, Jim Cornette, saying the problem with modern wrestling is it's being treated too much like a business and not enough like a wrestling show, and to combat that really is exactly what the WWE are doing. They're moving experienced wrestlers who may not have the business knowledge. I mean, Triple H, undoubtedly does, but they're wrestling first, business second. You have to give them that crown almost. And that's going to be, I can only see it being a good thing, because there'll be plenty of money men in the WWE that will step in and say, I think this is a bad financial move. But no one's going to go to them and say, I think this is a bad move for wrestling. No one's going to argue with them against that.
Can't argue the toss against Triple H, can you?
Exactly.
The guy's been around the locker room for close to 30 years. And it reminds me of Dusty Rhodes and his role, of the impact that he had, and really did shape that company, WCW, back in the 90s. And so it's handy to have that old hand just pointing you in the right direction and saying, look, we're a wrestling show. Think things at WWE will get tasty, and hopefully we get back to a good product again, because I've been in and out. I try and put my eyes onto wrestling, but sometimes I'm falling asleep after the first match or pulling my hair out, but it can only go one way, and that's better for me, Jack. So speaking of WWE, Clash at the Castle, Cardiff. So any of our wrestling fans on the channel heading down to that one, be interesting to meet you there, because I'm going down. There's a little convention beforehand, and of course, the main event that night in the Principality Stadium. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of people. So UK wise, obviously, we don't get many shows, many live shows from the WWE on UK soil. It's always exciting when they bring shows here. Even if it is sort of mid-card shows. I even think things like NXT or some of the sort of the lower shows, and I say lower in the sense of, probably viewer ratings, even if they had some of them come over to the UK, I think it would work wonders, and I think it would do great things for some of those up and coming wrestlers. But when the big shows come here, they sell out really quickly. They've got huge fan base, and it's not just the UK. You'll have people coming from all over Europe. Germany is probably one of the biggest European countries for supporting wrestling, and it's huge.
Big time, isn't it?
A lot of people are going to come from around Europe to come to this, so it's not just going to be people from the UK. So yeah, big news, big things. Who's going to be at the convention? Any big names that are going to be there?
You got the Bret Hart's going, the Mountie. This is with WrestleFest UK, so check them out on social media. Tyson Fury, of all people, he's heading there. I know Nick Aldis, a lot of the modern talent too. Definitely worth a look. And wrestling cards, there's people I know want to get them signed.
Oh yes, yeah. And we did also. We have seen a couple of price changes with autographs. Brett being one, his price has gone up, and he's now charging $100 for a signed Funko, whereas before it was sort of a $35, $40 flat rate for anything signed. We have seen a bit of a price increase there. I don't blame him, because cost of everything is going up. He has to. He'll have things like travel and living expenses, but he has to live. So he has to buy things, so his prices have to go up. Oddly, I don't see many people complaining about the price of the autograph Funkos going up such a drastic amount. I don't know. I'm not really into Funkos. I don't really collect them. I've only got probably about 4 or 5 myself. So getting an auto on a Funko, I'm not really too worried about, but it's obviously quite popular if they're looking to put prices up on things like that.
I'm just glad it's not on wrestling cards. We'd be there causing a scene.
It'd just be tears rolling down our faces, just like, it'd be like the scene from Titanic, which have a hand on the window, just like trying to pull it down. Like,
first the Undertaker, then Flair, now you, Bret, you've sold out.
Oh my God, it's terrible. So yeah, that's probably all that's happened, I think, in the last couple of weeks in regards to news.
Not a great deal.
Yeah, been a big stories, but a lot of them have already been covered. So yeah, I think that's a good little good little update. So poll winner, Bulldog.
British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith.
A big
legend.
Yeah, a big name, a big career. And I think just as a side note, before we go into history with Kev, you had the opportunity to speak with his daughter and see quite a very nice display of his ring-worn gear that she travels with and she puts on display. Just tell people a little bit about the kind of stuff that was there. That was
a lot of the for the love of wrestling. We were at that one, Jack, and that was the event where she flew over from the USA, trouble with the airlines and lost a lot of the stuff, managed to get it back and got to the event quite late on, but there's a lot of his ring-worn stuff and stuff from SummerSlam 92 and everything else. I think what George has done and the family is brought the name from absolutely nowhere, because it is buried, and obviously us legends remember the British Bulldog, but he was never mentioned on WWE TV. The next minute he's back into the Hall of Fame where he rightly belongs, really, and brought his name from nothing, remembered it how it should be, and he's pretty much a British icon. I mean, I like William Regal, there's Dynamite Kid, obviously Stu Bennett, many of great British wrestling talent, but is there any bigger than the British Bulldog? Jack, you tell him.
No,
I'm on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about British wrestling, and if you're talking about British wrestling organizations, you're going to come up with, Giant Haystacks, Big Daddy Cool. They did a lot for British wrestling in the UK, and no one's going to take any of that away from them. But if you want to talk international, if you want to talk worldwide, and something that Americans, and don't feel this is going to be, I'm not attacking Americans here, but something that Americans really like to have is that real patriotic sort of nationalism to get behind the hero. And people like Hogan and Lex, and they tried to really play on that real patriotic hero card, and it worked wonders. And you would think if you then tried to add the British Bulldog into that roster, who would always fly the Union Jack, you would think that he would be a heel. You would think that we don't want that. We don't want someone from another. Look at what they did with Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik. That complete heel turn, and the real nationalism of wrestling pushed Sergeant Slaughter into the furthest depths of being the biggest heel ever. That didn't happen with the British Bulldog. From day one of him being on the international scene, he was adored and accepted. And it was not just on talent. The charisma was there. Yeah, you could say his mic work wasn't brilliant, but he was accepted, and he was a baby face through most of his career. Apart from that weird time where the Heart Foundation didn't work in the US, and they were babyface everywhere else apart from in the US.
I think that's credit to his work, though, for that to happen. Many wrestlers would have bottled that. It could have gone wrong, but British Bulldog shouldn't. He stood there with Jim Neidhart, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, even Brian Pillman, and that angle alone is incredible.
Yeah,
really good.
Absolutely. I think I'm stepping a little bit into what you're going to go through with history with Kev. So I'm now going to shut up for 10 minutes. I'm going to let Kev give you the full lowdown on Davey Boy Smith's career. So off we go.
Okay, born in Goulburn, England, on the 27th. Oh, God. Honest to God, how many pints have I had? Born in Goulburn, England, on the 27th of November, 1962, Davey Boy Smith is regarded as a legend of pro wrestling. He would debut for World of Sport Wrestling on ITV way back in 1978, aged just 15. After generating a name for himself in pro wrestling, Davey Boy would soon be spotted by the Hart family talent scout Bruce Hart. Come 1982, he and cousin Tom Billington, the Dynamite Kid, would relocate to Canada, where they'd wrestle for Stu Hart and the famous Stampede Wrestling. With their success in 1984 and stints as single wrestlers in New Japan Wrestling, Davey Boy would eventually tag up with cousin Dynamite Kid to form the British Bulldogs. When Vince McMahon purchased Stampede Wrestling, he acquired the Bulldogs to wrestle in the WWF. Now recognized as an essential tag team, the Bulldogs won the WWF tag team titles from the Dream Team, and they'd hold the belts for 9 months. After a 4-year stint and wrestling in a red hot tag division, the British Bulldogs left the WWF in 1988. Between 1988 and 1989, the British Bulldogs wrestled once again for Stampede Wrestling and New Japan before both Davey Boy and Dynamite Kid would call it a day and both go it alone in the singles division. Tension between Davey Boy and Dynamite arose as Davey Boy returned to the WWF using the British Bulldog ring name in 1990. He would go up against mid-card talents such as the Warlord, Berserker, working his way up to Mr. Perfect, and eventually, in 1992, he would beat Bret Hitman Hart for the IC belt at SummerSlam 1992. So he was crowned the IC champion. Reign was short-lived as he was released from the WWF in the November of 92. So back to the indie scenes of late 92 up to 94. He'd have a go in New Japan again. We've seen bits of him on WCW. And I'm proud to say I was there for the Homecoming tour. And I think it was 93, 94 before he would again return to the WWF. He stayed there for 3 years, becoming the inaugural European champion, and again tagging up with Owen Hart, where they both won the tag team gold. So come 98, 99, back at WCW, unfortunately, he'd suffer a serious back injury after being slammed on a trapdoor at the Fall Brawl pay-per-view. Thankfully, in 99, his last run well, he got a last run with the WWF, which lasted till 2000. He captured the European title off D'Lo Brown, and he also picked up the hardcore title. Not many people know this, but he actually retired from wrestling in the year 2000. Many speculate due to the back injury, but we're not really sure. So in 2002, Bulldog was intent on returning to wrestling. He did tag up with his son, Harry, but sadly, on the 18th of May 2002, Davey Boy Smith would pass away from a heart attack. Still, he's one of Britain's biggest ever wrestling legends. He's remembered today. And places like Goulburn, Wigan, Manchester, he's an absolute legend, and they celebrate him highly. There we have it. News of Kev. I stuttered through that one. Got a bit nervous because it's a British Bulldog, absolute hero of mine, and I did manage to watch him wrestle. Over to you, Jack.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, perfect. I think there's to be able to go through the three probably biggest and most nostalgic eras of wrestling and still be, widely regarded as a legend. It is not many have done it. You're really in the top 20 wrestling names that have been able to achieve that. I really, really don't want to talk too much about some of the demons and some of the bad parts surrounding the British Bulldog. We all know, and we're all aware of what he went through and what was going on.
Yeah, very tough being a wrestler, isn't it?
Yeah. And
I think it's just tough in life, but when you're on the road like that, picking up injuries, life isn't fair at times.
No, and it's we've heard that story over and over and over, haven't we? The physically, emotionally, and mentally, it's so demanding and draining that they have to sort of build themselves up, and how they do that is how they did it was completely up to them. So a couple of points here that I think are really, really nice and really good and really, again, heartwarming to hear is that he is revered in the UK, in I wouldn't say in some areas, in most areas of the UK, he is revered as being, one of the driving forces behind Saturday morning kids watching wrestling and seeing him. And I think that was a great idea to have him at the SummerSlam 92 and especially and it wouldn't actually surprise me if in some part of Vince's mind he probably didn't want the British Bulldog to win that match, but more than likely a conversation between Brett, Bulldog, and Vince to say, you need Bulldog to win this match. That has to happen. I don't know if that was a conversation, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was to come out at some point.
I believe Jack, that Shawn Michaels was meant to face Bret Hart at SummerSlam 92.
Okay.
You're right. Somewhere it just makes sense, doesn't it? You can feel it.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments in wrestling that I think for a lot of UK and even European fans, it's really up there. It's a really highly remembered moment, and it's a very fond moment for a lot of people. And again, you can see it on Bulldog's face. When you're watching back that match, you can see it, and you think, obviously they knew it's going to happen, of course, but you can see that in that moment it meant so much to him, and I think it meant so much to the audiences, watching and being part of it. Another point I think to discuss, which is I wouldn't say it's a negative point as such, but it's certainly one that has difficult questions to ask, is the relationship between Bulldog and Dynamite Kid, and how that relationship fell apart after being such a solid relationship, and it's a very close relationship. How that fell apart, difficult to really get your head
again
around.
Let's give Dynamite Kid some credit here as well. Look at some of his matches, head onto YouTube. I always say this: Tiger Mask, wow.
Well, I mean, Dynamite Kid has always been at the top of being one of the smaller guys who was able to push that idea that it doesn't matter if you're one of the smaller guys, you can outperform and out wrestle and put on a good show against all of the bigger guys, even though your stature isn't the same as them. And, Bulldog was a big guy. You mentioned there, he was, going up against Warlord and, Power and Glory and things like that, big guys. He was able to stand next to him, and you wouldn't think there was much difference in them. There genuinely, there wasn't. But even Bulldog being a big guy and Dynamite being a smaller guy, it was a great combination for the tag team to be able to work. And that's been proven time and time again, that paradox between the big and the small in the tag team can work really well. Whereas if you look at something like the Rockers or Midnight Express, two really nimble, quick guys that were able to whip round the ring. If you put them in the ring with a good wrestler like Dynamite or like Anvil, for example, if they're going against the Hart Foundation, you would see that chemistry would really burn off. And notice there how I've kind of already listed probably the 4 biggest tag teams of that era. Midnight Express, Rockers, Hart Foundation, the Bulldogs. Their name is never going to come out of that list. Late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. You're really getting very, very high. I mean, when we covered Legion of Doom and when we went through some of their stuff, I'm sure we mentioned the Bulldogs on that episode as well to say, these were guys that were really up there. They were really getting far. But I think interesting to hear your take on how he sort of moved from tag team to singles and how he sort of went into that singles run. What do you remember of that?
Well, for me, I started watching wrestling in 1990. Then when the British Bulldog come about, I was like, holy wow, we've got a British wrestling superstar, because I never heard of Dynamite Kid till must have been a year later when you talk to the older guys. Oh, we used to have a tag team partner as well. And you're like, really? And you backtrack and you watch videos later on. Then obviously it was all one-way traffic for me with the British Bulldog, only that a later fan who is a wrestling fan would appreciate what Dynamite Kid done. And I would say one of the biggest tragedies possibly in wrestling, well, not the biggest, but a big tragedy for wrestling, is that we never got to see Dynamite wrestle in the 90s. Maybe a feud with Bulldog or fetch him in the Attitude Era. He definitely would have had some bite to the wrestling scene and have them working against each other. I'd like to see how that would have worked.
Would have been huge. Yeah, you can easily turn that into a real sort of a babyface versus babyface immediately ends up being a heel match because it's, 2 positives end up to be a negative. And then you flip it round. You then have 2 heels, going at each other, and you flip that round into a babyface sort of ending. And wow, you blow the roof off the place. So things like that were absolutely on the cards if that were able to happen. I mentioned it before about not many wrestlers have been able to move through different eras. And we've got the pre-Golden Era, the Golden Era, and Attitude, and moving a little bit, I suppose, if you can say, coming out of Attitude into the Ruthless Aggression. I mentioned it with Bossman, being able to move through that era from Golden Era to Attitude and still keep the gimmick there. What do you think Bulldog was able to do to move from Golden Era to Attitude? What do you think he was able to recognize had to change?
That's a tough question. Well, looking at it, it was a ring attire for a start. So he went from the traditional, like, working wrestling men's tights to the jeans and always going up against different wrestlers and being able to work with anyone. And I think if you're good enough, you could do that, isn't it? It's
exactly that. It was almost symbolic, moving from the Union Jack laden ring attire to I'm going to wear jeans and I'm just going to kick 7 bells into you, and that was where that hardcore thing I think came into it. I think the attire change was a big part of the gimmick shift. And let's not forget as well, the Heart Foundation had gone through that weird, or was still going through that weird, everyone in America hates us, but everyone else around the rest of the world loves us. So they were only heels in America. And then, people around the world literally didn't care every week when they saw Brett or one of them go on the mic and say, "Pittsburgh, we think you stink." And then everyone hated them. And we'd just laugh and go, yeah, whatever, fine. Who cares? And then they'd go to Canada or they'd come to Europe, and they would be adored and loved by everybody. And it seemed like a bit of an odd sort of paradox between heel and babyface based on location. It just seemed weird.
It was something that never happened in wrestling before then. That's what got me tuned in, and it was like, how can Canada love them and America hate them? There's going to be a war, and it's going to kick off. And obviously, it never gets to that, does it? So,
yeah, it was a weird angle to twist, but it worked. And I think again, you had, if we take a very quick look at the Heart Foundation, you had Bulldog, who was a fan favorite. I don't think many people, even in the States, I don't think that even at that stage they disliked him. Pillman, loose cannon, was known as being just crazy and off the wall. So that was their reason to hate, to dislike Pillman in that sense. Owen was always the snotty younger brother, wasn't he? He came in with that attitude when he moved out from High Energy with Coco. So that really then just left Anvil and Brett, who I think just played up to it. They just played up to being hated.
The original Heart Foundation, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So,
but you mentioned the wrestlers there. Think of them. Think of them 5. It's like, if you wanted a WrestleMania, I'm sure you'd pick all 5 of them to be on that card.
Yeah, it's
in some way or another.
Yeah. A lot of people will pay an awful lot of attention to the influence the Click had in Attitude and moving a bit forward from Attitude. I don't think the Heart Foundation had that level of, I'm going to say, forced influence. And by that, what I mean is they didn't go around throwing their weight around to benefit them. They were there to, and Brett said this many times, they were there to represent the smaller guys in the locker room. They were there to represent, you didn't have to be a big muscle, steroid head to be at the top of the listings. And they didn't twist the stories and the programs to benefit them, whereas the Click kind of did. We can't really avoid that. We know they did that, and we know that influence they had. But the impression that the Heart Foundation was able to carry with a lot of the wrestlers and a lot of the audiences, I think is the good thing. That's a really positive part of the influence they had.
Yeah, definitely. Something that was needed in wrestling at the time, because it could have got out of hand, isn't it? There.
Okay, so
the good old times, Jack.
Absolutely. So I think what we'll do now, let's have a run through some cards. That's what we're here for. We're here to have a look at cards and talk about some of the cards you can get and some of their value, and some of the ones that are worth a bit more, some of the ones that are desirable, yada yada yada. So for those watching on YouTube, obviously you're going to see these on the screen, but we'll go through and we'll actually discuss and talk you through if you're listening to this on a podcast. We'll explain to you the card numbers, and you can go and hunt them down if you want to. So let's have a look.
Card number 1.
Yeah, so you should be able to see on the screen now. This is a really early card. Yeah,
British Bulldogs card. That is from about 1985, Series 2 of the WWF Tops O-Pee-Chee set. And of course, Dynamite Kid, and on the left is the British Bulldog. What do you think of the card? Are you happy with that one, Jack, or would you change it in any way?
I really like it. I think it's a great picture of a tag team. They've you can tell they've just walked into the ring. They're just discussing what they're about to do and what the plan is. You've got British Bulldogs probably asking Dynamite a question or talking to him and getting his advice or his opinion on something. So it's a great photo. It's a great, I would call this an action shot. This is not a promo shot. It's a great action shot.
Yeah.
The framing of the card is bold and basic. And don't think I'm saying it's basic as an insult. it's clear.
Yeah.
You know what's there. You've got the Bulldogs name in like that comic style kind of explosion. What more do you need? Pretty straightforward.
Brilliant card. A lot of people would associate it with the rookie card. It's debatable. I know it's definitely one of the earlier cards and does hold a bit of value. But for me, it's a card I've recently picked up actually, and I've been hunting for it for a long time. And bizarrely, it's appeared on a UK eBay page, which is something you don't see of the early 80s wrestling cards. It don't appear on eBay UK very often. So maybe there's a British Bulldog collector out there.
Yeah, a lot of the OPG ones don't surface here very often. You can get them, but they're not particularly common. I don't actually think they were even released here. I think they were specifically just for the American market. I don't think we saw them.
No, correct.
Yeah, so we don't see them very often. They do. I think they probably hold more value here than they do in the States. More value in Europe, than they do in the States, because again, they weren't in Europe either. Great card, great set. Yep, really nice to have. I think it's a great piece of history. So yeah, thumbs up from me on that one. I like it.
Brilliant.
On to the next. So probably saw a little flash of it if you were watching on YouTube, because I left the little preview bar open. Tell us the card, Kev. Tell us the card.
1992 Gold Series, Merlin. Love the card, love this time. And obviously it was when it was ready to go up against Bret Hart at SummerSlam 92. The pose, everything about it. One bad thing, and I'm blaming Merlin for this, centering and keeping this card in top condition, because you could touch it and it goes off shape, but it always knackers up, doesn't it? So what's your thoughts, Jack?
I always so this set, because of it being a black border, when the edges get knocked or scraped or marked, it shows up so easily. And it ruins the framing of the card, because, of course, the card color is white. So it's white on black. You see it straight away. So the edges always get battered. Corners, as much as anything, sometimes the corners get marked, sometimes they don't, it's depending on how they've been stored. The surface, it's a thick kind of card, so it's not too bad on that. And the print is quite colorful. So technically, it's a nice card. But because of it being a black border, the edges get frayed really easily, and it's really frustrating. And I also think as well that has a bigger impact if you get the card graded, because it's so visible. You don't need to put it under a microscope to see, or a magnifying glass to see, that the edges are frayed. So I always think they get graded really harshly, and it's so difficult to find a nice set.
Condition is everything with this card.
Yeah,
Really
and you mentioned the centering. Always a pain in the backside to try and find one with decent centering as well. So you got two things working against you: centering and edges. So very, very annoying to try and find one in decent shape. But we've said it a few times now. That pose, that picture, the iconography, the attire is, 100% British Bulldog. It's nothing else. It's not getting confused with anybody else.
Quality.
Yeah.
Next card, Jack. What have we got?
Next one is one of my picks. So one of my choices. So this one is a bit of a more of a modern one from the Bulldog era, and something completely different from the iconography that we've just seen. So a real change in what Bulldog was doing. And we mentioned before his move from the golden era into attitude was a change in attire. And we can see that here. So I'll just run down the details of the card. So this is the 2000 Comic Images No Mercy number 35. It's not a very rare card. It's not a very desirable card, but it's a card that completely changes the different side, shows the different side of the Bulldog.
Yeah.
We've gone
with that. I was going to say, with that, the No Mercy set alone, it's so grown on me. When I first come across it, I don't know what, years back, I was like, oh, I'm not a fan. Doesn't really do anything for me. But I think he just summed it up. It's Bulldog 2000, the actual hardcore matches, everything about that set. I haven't got a full set. So now, Jack, you've just bloody cost me a fortune in tracking it down, haven't you?
So the actual picture itself is Bulldog holding a metal dustbin or a metal trash can.
Trash can.
And I don't know who that is. I was trying to figure this out earlier. Who is?
Is it Test?
Is he the Test or? Oh dear, what's going on there?
What's he done? He's broke it.
And who are these two in the background? I can't tell who these are.
Oh, not the Hardy Boys, that's for sure.
No, definitely not.
Is Brooklyn Brawler on the left?
Oh gosh.
Oh,
get real close up there.
That could be the Brawler, couldn't it?
Could be.
Oh, I don't know on the right.
Difficult to tell. Yeah. But yeah, this shows again a real change in how the Bulldog, how his image was. Hitting people with metal bins. You wouldn't. The Bulldog of the golden era would never have done something like that. So to keep with the times, absolutely great image, great action shot. Coming into something completely different. This is one of your picks, Kev.
Yeah, Best of British by Tops, and you can see in the top left-hand corner that one is number 8 of 49. I've put this one in just so that we could see WWE and Tops are actually giving the British Bulldog some credit, and it's something we managed to pick up over here in the UK.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic card in description. So it's just Bulldog stood in a sort of hands on the hips pose, not in the full flag that is on the other card, but you've got the Union Jack sort of holographic design behind the Bulldog on the card itself, which is a great, it's a great looking card. A bit of a chase card. It's going to be numbered, as you can see. So it's out of 49. So not a particularly high number. I think they go up to 200 as some of the numbers, 250. So going only up to 49. There's quite a few there. Quite a few people that are going to want that kind of card. So it's a nice card.
Might not be the best ever, but it's there. Nice to see Bulldog getting some recognition. That's why I picked it. Next one.
Absolutely. Next one. Okay, one of my choices. So this is the 2018 Tops, again, another Tops Heritage card. I like the Heritage cards, some of them.
Yeah.
They are really good at encapsulating the wrestler. And I actually think if you look, people on YouTube watching, it's the same promo picture that's been lifted.
Wow.
So a little bit lazy there from Tops. They've just used the same top half picture now of the Bulldog rather than it being sort of knees up. This is now waist up. But in the background is a picture of the Bulldog waving the Union Jack with short hair now, so slightly later in his career, and he's got the tag team title on him. Yeah. So it's an action shot and a promo shot on the same card. So it's a good display of sort of the character of Bulldog, shall we say. So really
it goes back to the 96 won the belt in Germany, I believe. So cool little card, cheeky from Tops.
And again,
I love that in my collection.
What we're looking at $3 for a card. These aren't expensive cards. But if you are watching from the States, look at that postage. It cost us $15 for you to for us to pay for you to post it over to us. So be nice. Right. Cool. So this was my main choice. This was my favorite out of all the Bulldog cards that I've gone through. And again, I'll describe it for people listening here. So this is one of the 1997 magazine cards. So this card came within the WWF magazine. And it is card number 101. And it's British Bulldog doing what appears to be a gorilla press slam with holding up Owen Hart. And I suppose I don't really need to go through a huge amount, much more on the significance.
This says so much, doesn't it? The fact that he's working with Owen Hart and the facial expressions from both wrestlers do it for me on that one. There, Jack.
It's the magazine cards they're all right in their sort of color scheme and how they're designed, but for me the picture is, it's a great picture on this card. It's a really, really nice picture.
Very good card.
moving into a big boy, a big hitter now. Kev, talk us through this one.
Well, firstly, I have to give a big shout out to Rob England for this. I've noticed it on his Twitter page and he shared it out. I believe this to be the rookie card of Davey Boy Smith, and it's from a playing card set over in Japan. You see a very young looking Davey Boy Smith. I haven't tracked any young David cards at the minute. Obviously, that's his ring name in England. But rookie card, very early. I imagine that's super hard to find, and only a wrestling champ like Rob England would own something like that. So big shout out to him. Awesome card, incredible. Just got everything Japanese about it. It's not a mainstream card. It's something that you'd find in a Christmas cracker set or something bizarre, isn't it? And totally different.
It's like a mini pack of cards, isn't it? It's probably half the size or even a third of the size of a normal set of playing cards. And this is slabbed up on PSA. So this is officially listed 1985 Shokugan Wrestling, Davey Boy Smith, and it is the Queen of Spades. And it says PERF. Now, I don't know if that means perforated. I think it does. And it's been graded an 8, which is a near mint to mint quality. So it's a pretty high grade. As a perforated card as well. You can see, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see, I think that's where the perforation marks are along the edge of the card. So they actually, if it's either hand cut or perforated or out of a magazine, PSA or a lot of the grading companies will forego the edges grading because they know it's just going to fail miserably. And it's the same with off-centering. If a card is really, really badly off-centered, they may just forego the off-center grade and base it on the other 3 grades, which is corners, surface, and edges. So they will mix and match a little bit. And I think that's what the PERF stands for, is perforated.
Yeah. There is a Dynamite Kid card of that as well. A few others from that set.
Oh, I see. It'd be interesting to see that full set, actually. I wonder who else. Well, I suppose it'd mainly be a lot of the Japanese wrestlers in there, but I wonder if there's any more sort of Western wrestlers in there.
I think there is. I can't think off the top of my head. For some reason, One Man Gang, but I could be wrong on that. Something I need to track down, really.
Yeah.
Next one.
Okay, another one from another choice of mine from the same set. So the magazine set, which I said was 101, this is card 100, and this is again all sorts going on this picture. So it's another magazine, 1997 WF magazine. Owen Hart and Bulldog again on the same picture, but the Bulldog is not only holding the European Championship belt, he's holding the Tag Championship belts, which was with Owen, I believe, at the time. So a bit of an odd situation there between those two cards. You've got Bulldog Gorilla Press slamming Owen in the same attire, which looks like possibly could be the same night or same match.
Was that the final where he was pressing him in the German competition for the European belt?
It may well be.
Could have been.
Yeah, may well be.
So that's what WWF did back then, was put tag teams against each other and bizarre little twists and great cards.
Yeah,
very dark background. So that's what makes me think of Germany. The whole event wasn't very well lit compared to what WWF did in other shows.
But it's a great photo. You know, Bulldog holding 3 titles effectively.
Pretty much.
Tag team in the European. So yeah, great card. And again, not very expensive, $7. Really not that. We're not. Some of these cards, yes, are worth an awful lot of money, but you don't have to spend a lot to get good cards that represent a good slice of history. Okay, another classic for us here in the UK. Kev, talk us through it.
Yeah, again from the Gold Series, WWF Series 1 of the SummerSlam sets. Black border again. The one I've included this because if you look at the British Bulldog's face, to the right-hand side, there's a little yellow dot. And at first, when I picked that up, I was like, oh no, there's a fault in the card. So I think I bought 2 straight after. And they've all got this little stupid yellow dot, which for me, it's one of the iconic poses of the Bulldog, but it's completely ruined it because it's the first thing my eyes go to.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, he's ruined it.
Yeah, I ruined it. Sorry, I was flicking too far ahead. There's a couple of things that could be attributed to. So one could be the actual original photo itself may have had a bit of dust on it. Could be what's called a printing hickey. And a printing hickey is whereby the plate has a defect. Where a lot of the older cards, and a lot of cards will be pressed via plates. From what I've been told, by the way, this is what I've been led to believe, the printing plate has a defect, and when it goes on to be pressed to be printed, the defect then goes on to every card. So you end up with, on that particular run, because when they notice it, they will change the plate, because then they realize that there's a defect. You'll end up with a run of cards that will have the same defect. Now, this could be, as I say, it could be on the actual photo itself, so you'll never be able to get it printed without. Or it could just be off of a particular run whereby that ink splodge has been pressed into the card.
Yeah. And you'll notice again, not centered and white coming through on the edges.
Yeah, terrible.
Damn you.
just terrible. Just like white bits frayed all over the place. Yeah, just annoying. Right, next one. Kev, we're going to have to cover some of these German cards, but talk us through this.
Disney Limit, I think this is from 93. Was a 9 in the set, Jack? British Bulldog. And that is with, it's not Matilda. Is it Winston the dog?
No.
I think it's Winston the second.
Oh, yeah, there was two.
Yeah. There was two. I think Matilda was British Bulldogs and Winston was Bulldog in 91. So cool shot, very early 90s. And I like the knee pads, how the ankle high, if you like. And becoming quite a hard card to pick up because they're from the set in Germany. There's other ones, as we mentioned. We'll do this in another episode. So it's Macho Man, Warrior, Hogan, Undertaker, that sort of thing. So pick this one out just to say hello to our fans in Europe there.
Yeah, these are hard cards to get. So Germany has quite a few German-specific release cards and stickers that we never saw in the UK. You never saw in the States. So these kinds of cards are very, very desirable in the States because they're so rare. And what Germany did as well, which I really applaud them for doing this, is they used a lot of original photos for a lot of their cards. Not all of them, but a lot of original photos, which to me just adds to the rarity, because some of these photos you wouldn't see anywhere else. Yeah, they used a lot of the common ones, but this particular photo, I don't know of many of the cards that have this. Don't know.
Don't think, posters, anything. Yeah, I don't really see that image of the Bulldog much.
And it's the same with a lot of the other Disney limits and some of the other magazine cards. They did use some. There are quite a few that are the same sort of shared, let's say, photos, but the Undertaker one in this set, for example, is one of the best Undertaker photos. But it's one that has been used in other places, and it's the same photo, I believe, that's on the Series 8 Hasbro. Great photo, but we'll cover that at a different point. But just to give people an idea of what's happening here. So yeah, Bulldog is kneeling down in the ring. He's got one of the Bulldogs with him, we believe is Winston, just giving it a stroke and a scratch. And great iconography. What more could you ask for the British Bulldog to have a British Bulldog in the photo? Great idea and a great thing for the WF to kind of push forward. But great card, and you can see there again perforated because it's come from a magazine, so you may get that listed if you were to get it graded. Quite expensive to get as cards go. I think that one's probably $20, $25, the equivalent
going up.
What we
going up every day.
You could probably expect this would, as a full set, you'd probably be looking at, close to $80 or $90 if you were trying to sell it in the States. Over here, the price is a bit lower because it's not too difficult to get them from Germany. Yeah,
there is more from Disney Limit as well. Like there's Arnie, Sandra Bullock, Rocky, all sorts of cards. So they were chucking them in with magazines, and thankfully they did a wrestling line.
Yeah, they're quite like sort of teen magazines, weren't they? Germany seems to have this thing for teen magazines. So films and pop culture were really big, and you could get like I'm sure there was a Duran Duran set of stickers as well in one of them, in one of the Pop Rocky ones. But again, we'll cover this because there's an awful lot of ground to cover with German magazine cards. It's a bit of a bigger topic. Okay, and I will let you go through this one, Kev. This is yours.
I think it's card number 7 from the SummerSlam Part 2 set, and it's a British Bulldog shaking hands with Bret the Hitman Hart. That speaks volumes. If that doesn't fetch back great memories, and God help you.
Yeah.
It's not so much about the wrestling, but the family and, everything about that card for me is like, wow, such a great event. 30 years old next week, and why not include that one?
Absolutely. Great action shot. It was almost as if, whoever was taking the photo knew exactly where to stand, when to take the photo. The framing is perfect. You're not missing out anything on the photo. It's a great shot, and great memories. And it with being the SummerSlam card in the Gold Series, yellow border, so it's nice and bright. So if it does get frayed, it's not too noticeable around the edges. But just great card. Great card.
That's why it's in.
Yeah. And then I think this is the last one, I believe.
Was it? Yeah, save the best to last. Davey Boy Smith, very early from that Series 2 set. We've seen the British Bulldogs one earlier, and a peachy tops from 1985. What I like about that one is the ring jacket. Why don't we see ring jackets today?
Yeah, it's like a university jacket almost, isn't it?
Of course. Yeah. Everyone had a ring jacket. Tito Santana, Bulldogs, even people like Greg the Hammer Valentine always took his jacket off before a match. Bret Hart doesn't seem to be happening today, does it?
No. And
simple things.
I wouldn't say it's the most exciting photo. Let's say that. But
no,
what I would say is it's a slice of history, and well, you've just mentioned it there. The ring attire. You don't see this anymore. You don't see very many early photos of Davey Boy Smith, especially around that time, sort of mid 80s. There's not many photos that actually exist. So it's nice to see these cards that still exist, and you can still get them. What kind of sort of price range are people looking at if you wanted to get this type of card?
You're talking about $30 to $40, obviously, and postage. So it's all about condition. You don't see too many PSAs, so that again, I don't really know. Obviously, any signed British Bulldog stuff's going to generate huge money.
Oh yeah,
got to be. Yeah. I mean, sadly, it's 20 years since he's passed away. So
yeah, I don't. It's an autograph. You don't see much of. Same as what we were talking about with Boss Man, and you don't see many. There's a few, but you don't see very many. But you've got to be realistic. It's going to be so difficult to find an autograph from Davey Boy Smith on any card, let alone on a really early one. So you've got to be realistic about it, and it's probably not many exist. Let's just say that. I wouldn't say that it doesn't, but certainly not many.
I've always wondered though, would it generate more interest in the States or in the UK? Because obviously British wrestling fans would. I'd love it. I've always kept my eye out for British Bulldog stuff, and I don't know why, but maybe obviously probably because he's British. But why haven't I done that with William Regal or all the other British guys?
Good question. I mean, I don't know what would cause a higher, or what would generate a higher value. I really don't. And that goes to, again, mentioned it at the start, goes to show how much draw the British Bulldog had in the States.
Yeah, huge.
He had that much draw that between me and you, we're struggling to say who would pay more money for a signed, let's say a signed rookie card. If you had one, who would pay more from the States or from the UK? I wouldn't be able to call it. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's what would you call it? His rookie card? I don't know. But I hate that word.
Yeah, it's becoming really. I mean, I'm getting into more
Oh.
and more conversations now about people where rookie cards are concerned, and one of the things that people are discussing now is it a rookie card if it's an unlicensed release?
Oh man, what next?
And yeah, I'm honestly, I was talking to some people in the Formula One cards. You want to talk about money and autographs and ridiculous prices for cards? Forget wrestling. You go to Formula One. That's crazy prices. You're looking at 30, 40 grand for certain cards, and that's not even uncommon. You know, crazy prices. But yeah, there's a big discussion at the moment between licensed and unlicensed photos. So yeah.
So next week is episode 7 of Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher, where I've got a huge stash of collection of Formula One cards.
Yeah, there's a big discussion of that at the moment. But let's we've got a couple more cards for the Bulldog left to go. I think out of all of the cards that we've picked, this is a real gem. This one. So talk us through this one.
That's why I've included. That's my favorite. Just what do I need to say about that card? WWF Merlin 91. Everyone knows I love that set. His arms right up above the beads, the actual Union flag, WWF written on the turnbuckles, even the ring, the color. Doesn't get any better than that for the British Bulldog, if you're asking me.
No, and I actually think, and I'm hesitant to go and say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think this is probably a perfect British Bulldog wrestling card.
Yeah. And do you know the beauty of that, Jack? It's less than £5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's
crazy.
what collecting is. You don't have to spend 5 million. You could still pick up a gem quality card for £5 British.
Yeah.
And there you have it.
It's literally, there's nothing about this card I would change. The design, the layout, the colors, the picture. There is nothing, literally nothing I would say negative about this card. And that, to me, that's not, there's not many in my collection where I say it's perfect for that person. And this is one of them.
Yeah, that's it. Is there any more to go through?
We got a slam attacks. Boo.
Yeah, well, I've just included a few slam attacks just to say it's nice that he gets a mention today, still remembered and still finding his way to the younger generation that never really celebrated the Bulldog like what we did.
Yeah, not. I'm not a particular fan of them, but hey, you know they exactly right there, Kev. They help keep the legacy, don't
the
they?
name alive. Yeah.
And then that's it. We come back down to the original one. So there we go. Let's come back, and there we are. There's our faces again.
Yes, beautiful faces.
Beautiful faces. So British Bulldog. There we are. Another episode done and down, and I think we've covered an awful lot of ground. I think we've really, I think we've really given people sort of a pause for thought if they overlooked what the Bulldog had done for wrestling, but also overlooked some of the cards, because for less than $20, you can have some of the best Bulldog cards out there.
Surprisingly, it's insane, isn't it? It's like, and bizarrely, there isn't a great deal of British Bulldog cards compared to obviously Ric Flair, Hogan, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Brett. You're probably counting less than 100 in total.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really an odd situation, because I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't get the respect or the exposure he deserves, because I think he gets an awful lot, and rightly so. And it's a case, I think, of, because he was never put in that top tier position, top card position, he was always considered mid card, like Mr. Perfect, unfortunately, like Razor. But come on, the legacy was ridiculous, you know, and no one is going to ever, I would have a fist fight, right? Genuinely have a fist fight with anybody who would say people like Kurt or Bulldog or Razor didn't deserve to have a heavyweight title shot. They absolutely did, and they should have got them. They should have. So yeah, great legacy, great legend, great memories, great cards. What more?
Fetches it all back. Yeah. I think that
more?
just sums up episode 6, doesn't it? So
yeah,
British Bulldog done.
Bulldog
What
is done.
next?
What is next? What is next? So we are actually going to film an episode tomorrow, but that doesn't mean anything for you guys listening now. We'll give some details on that over the next week, and I think we're going to change up the poll. I don't even think we're going to do a poll for the next next episode. I think we're going to do. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to spill the beans. Yeah, we'll let them. Leave them wanting more. Leave them wanting more.
This is big news, you know. This is like...
But that's that's it. That's amazing. A fantastic chat, and I hope you've learned something. And if you've got any memories of the Bulldog, let us know. Put them in the comments. Put them in the chat. Let us know.
Thank you, wrestling fans. Stay tuned to the channel. Like, share, subscribe. Submit wrestling cards. From me, Kevin Williams, my good friend Jack. Goodbye for now.
Bye. And that about wraps it up for another edition of the Submit Wrestling Cards podcast with myself, Jack, and my good friend, Kev. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube, and keep an eye out for the next upcoming episodes. And now a quick word from our sponsor, Wrestling Cards Worldwide.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I run Wrestling Cards Worldwide, and I'm proud to be associated with the Submit Wrestling Cards podcast. We've got thousands of cards and stickers from all different eras on the website, and if you check out the link on the podcast, they'll give you an exclusive discount code for the website.
Thank you very much, and until next time, bye.